All right, should be all live, should be all good to go. Let me just make sure. I want to make sure I got a decent connection out here. Obviously, I've never recorded outside of this house before, so I'm very curious if it wants to work. So let me just check and see. Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like it's going pretty fine. Seems like you can hear me pretty decently. So obviously, as I mentioned in the last couple streams I've done, between the move I'm helping my partner do with the new house that we got and stuff, I'm probably not going to be able to go live this weekend, either Friday or Saturday for Daytona, which really sucks because obviously those are the ones I want to do the most. But I guess we traded an Atlanta live stream for no Daytona live stream this week, and since I'm not going live, I figured I'd just talk about general stuff related to Daytona. Obviously, stack from the back of the field, right? Duh. Um, I have tons of videos on that stuff. If you're wanting to go into like that type of data, I'm not really here for that. I just kind of want to share my own opinions and stuff. And I'm right in the middle of a pretty small town, and this dude just did like the biggest burnout, and is like, you know, is like lifting diesel as he's got to go kiss his dad or something. Um, but in terms of stuff for this week, one, I haven't looked at the weather yet. Um, Last time I looked at the weather for Daytona, it was like a month out or so, and I know there was like a tropical storm or something in the area. Obviously, it's Wednesday. We have plenty of time to figure out if something is going to happen or not. I really don't care either way. With building for guys in the back of the field, which you should do, right? We're not here to chase the optimum. We're here to chase that. The weather and everything like shouldn't matter at all. Let me make sure I got this up. Yeah, like the race is not going to matter if it goes all the way to the green or if it ends with weather. Like we play the same way. The couple things I wanted to mention is I was rewatching the Spring Talladega race and Daytona from earlier this year, and one thing that was really probably a good thing to just see how different people would race and stuff is in the Spring Talladega race earlier this year. Obviously, we lost Keselowski, we lost Blaney, Busher. I forgot the Bell. They got wrecked out early and stuff, and so the reason, when we typically, or at least when I look at plate racing and stuff, I'm trying to figure out who's going to be right up front at any given time, right? And the fact that we lost a lot of the Ford camp was actually pretty good because look, it's not because of the aerodynamic capabilities; they just have better drivers. Okay, you have Blaney, you have Keselowski, you have Logano, you have Cindric. You have guys who you have Busher and Priest who are going to be following the RFK train. You have the smallest of like the big manufacturers, Ford, right? Because you just have Penske, you just have RFK, and then you have the Wood Brothers, right? Um, you know, we might think of Toyota being the less supported manufacturer, but I mean it's really Ford in terms of their numbers and stuff. So you typically always see the Ford drivers exclusively run together and try and lead the lines and lead the packs. And so the fact that we lost a good portion of those guys early, really showed what happens in situations where they aren't involved. Now, what do we mean by that? Okay, when we're looking at the Ford guys leading, we could expect them to be up there. Since they weren't up there, we were able to see who was up there a lot. And two of the main things that are, I don't know if shocking is the word, but concerning rather, is we saw Cody Ware run up front for a good portion of the race. And when I mean up front, obviously we're looking at a top 10 range position, right? You had Alfredo do the same thing, and you had Alfredo running with the Trackhouse guys a lot. Obviously, you had Suarez and Ross up there, but the thing that was like really worrying for me was how aggressive early on Cody Ware was. Okay, same thing with Anthony Alfredo and stuff. I don't know who's in the 62. Let me go and take a look because I haven't looked at the entry list for this week, and you guys don't have to type it in or anything. I don't even know if anybody's here. I'm just kind of talking, but I want to see the rest of the field really fast. Obviously, I'm recording this early. be McClure, Cody Ware. Interesting. Why is the 62 not there? Yeah, they didn't post anything else. Interesting that Beard Motorsports is not on the entry list, which, fine by me. Get those hunks of crap out of here, since they never fixed their car anyway. So we have Joey Gase and we have Casey Mears. Now, off the top of my head, yet again, I typically just watch how people are running and stuff. We had JJ Yaley in the. Actually, I can just bring it up on Racing Reference right here. Actually, I'm not concerned about how many laps they finished down, but I want to check and see. I'm pretty sure Yaley was in the 44 for Talladega, and he stayed with the field quite well here. Let me just check one last thing before I make my point that I wanted to. Let's see, where are we at here? I know I don't have anything on the screen. I'm just looking really fast on my end. Yeah, so Yaley, we have Nemechek 1 lap down. We have SVG 1 lap down. We have Cody Ware 2 laps down. And we have JJ Yaley 2 laps down with BJ McLeod. He retired due to overheat on lap 71. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is the 44 has had pretty decent speed in terms of being able to typically stay with the pack. They're not just falling off the pack for no reason. I'm not sure what the 66 is going to do. And the reason why I'm focusing on these guys so much is usually, I'm only playing, a player pool, a pretty tight player pool, especially this weekend, right? Because at least for Sunday, you do 400, and at least just me, right? If I do 20 and everything, I got 400 in the 20, 100 in the 5, 80 in the 4. So we're at 580, and then whatever else I want to, fuck around with or whatever. So it's probably gonna be like $700, right? Just for Sunday. And so when I'm allocating, my lineups and stuff, I'm usually like way over the field on these guys in the back anyway. And I look at the sponsorship in the 44, right? But I'm not too concerned if I come in at like 20-25% on the 44, even if it's Joey Gase on it. Obviously, I want to see the car first to make sure it's sponsored, right? I am concerned with the 66, but even still, probably have 10 to 15% ownership, regardless of where these guys start, right? With no Anthony Alfredo, right? Like, I just can't believe they're not on this entry list. Like, why? I just can't believe they didn't. I'm like baffled. I'm like dumbfounded. Like, I just watched somebody shoot my dog in front of me. Like, 62 isn't at one of these races. Like, we had a full 40-car field. I guess BJ McLeod, MBM signed up first before the beer guys. Nobody wanted to go home. Oh, and Austin Hill is in the field. Okay, so I think obviously we've had overheating issues and stuff with the 78 before, but he's ran decently. Like, he's ran decently enough to where, if he runs the mechanical failure, he runs the mechanical failure. But there's really nobody in this field that I'm concerned about truly, not having equipment right, especially with the amount of like brake issues we've seen this year. Larson at Watkins Glen, like we've played guys all the time who can't compete in the race anyway. So from a DMF perspective, I'm not, or from a like do not finish perspective, that isn't a crash. I'm not worried about anybody there. The reason I bring up the Cody Ware stuff is I just didn't like how Cody Ware was running in the top 10 for a much higher percentage of the race than he typically does. Now, it's much easier to go up through the field at Talladega, so hopefully we don't run into a situation where he's running that aggressively early. But for me personally, that makes Cody somebody that I'm typically like, 50, 45% on. Somebody I probably want in probably 5 or 6 lineups, just because I don't think we need to take that type of unnecessary risk there. When I'm looking at the rest of the field, And like, Austin Hill being in the field, I think he's probably going to carry some decent ownership in comparison to BJ, Casey Mears, Joey Gaze, and stuff, only because he's Austin Hill. Most likely to start in the back of the field, right? Uh, and obviously, these opinions are like null and void if these guys qualify decently, right? But since last year's uh, summer race here at Daytona, which the last 4 years I've competed to win this stupid GPP 2 years. One obviously when it rained when Austin Dillon won, and then last year um, I was winning, like the 100K. Like also it's 50K to first this week, so that's unfortunate. Um, but I was winning that entering the last green light checkered and stuff, and so like personally for me, I just want to win this stupid contest at some point. But when we look at where things have gone in terms of true stack from the back or in terms of carnage and stuff, now obviously Atlanta, was amazing, right? Everybody who, Atlanta's the opposite of Daytona and Talladega for me. You played the good guys in the back of the field. The entire field died at Atlanta, so a lot of people in the back of the field came through, right? If you separate Atlanta from the other plate races and stuff, we haven't had true carnage and stack from the back since last summer race. Obviously, I just we went over the spring race at Talladega going green. It really didn't work that well. Let me make sure that I'm not just speaking out of turn here. If I remember correctly, stuff didn't really happen at the 500. Atlanta's been the place where most of them have been coming on. Let me see. Pretty sure this 500 race sucked, right? Yeah, we have 24 people left on the lead lap. Well, I mean, it's because there's a lot of chalk. So obviously we had Johnson, Bowman, Soros finishes 13th, but for a majority of that, you have fifth place finisher winning, guy who started first finishing fourth, second place finishing eighth, sixth place guy finishing 10th. Very similar to the old school Daytonas, which actually let me go ahead and bring this up really fast here. I will put this on the screen as we kind of talk through. Where are we at here? Let's see. What? Here you go. Videos. That's Atlanta. Even though it's Atlanta, we can still look at the Daytona finishes stuff really fast. Obviously, Aaron has let me look at his sheet, but I'm not going to show it here for this example. Obviously, this is old Daytona, but still viable. And obviously, I'm on my Chromebook right now, so just for the sake of being able to see, obviously too small to see. We're not really concerned about this. We're more so just looking at where guys in the backfield are finishing. So in this situation, green is guys who started up front, right? And so we typically look at Daytona, and again, this is Daytona from 2010 to 2001. Obviously, there's races where a lot of carnage happened and stuff, and then there's races where things are going green. And we typically we haven't really had true chaos in a plate race, since the summer race last year. As I said, why is that important? I firmly believe that, and again, I mean, this contest is only like 1,400 people, not 1,400, 14,000 people for Sunday. I think you can get away with having unique lineups fairly easily, especially if you're underweight on the chalk, which obviously you should be. One thing I'm going to test out that I haven't done, obviously I'm going to hand build my own stuff, but when we get to Sunday and potentially even Saturday as well, obviously I'm doing 105 as well, or like per, which I normally do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out SaberSim's distribution in like 33 or 35 lineups and throw those in the 5 by just use the back half of the field and have it be very, very underweight on the chalk guys in the back. Because I'm even now, the portfolio diversity tool has been incredible, right? And I've been ranting and raving about that. And also, if you guys check out TrueDFS.com, you'll see that, hey, the new website's up and everything. Griffin and Goldie have worked their asses off to get that thing looking as great as it is. If you guys find any issues or something, do reach out. We've been back testing for a while, and most, like if there's any like dead links and stuff, we've taken care of them. But just, shoot us a ticket in the support if you find, a dead link or something. But everything should be pretty decent in that with, SaberSim's working, Paydir's working, and all that stuff. Anyway, I don't know if SaberSim has been changed to build the lineups that I would typically build for the plate race. And what I mean by that is, this contest is 14,000 people. It's $20 to enter, so it's a very, very, very expensive entry fee for people. I don't think you should have many duplications in your own lineups at all from what should be able to do or what you should be able to do, especially if you just build from the back half of the field only. I'll even show. I mean, obviously, I have videos and stuff, but let me go over what happened at Talladega, because I got absolutely crushed. I think I only had one lineup cash in the race at Talladega in the spring, right? I'm pretty sure we got obliterated here. Make sure this is streaming. Yeah, cool. Okay. We'll let this load. Yeah, like I got eviscerated and stuff, and I just think, typically, year in and year out and stuff, it hits about once, 1.5 years, or like one every like 9 races, right? 9 weekends, right? At least the extent that I build for. And I just don't think people are going to be building. There we go. Better, should be all good. All right. Yeah, I just don't think people are going to be playing, fully stacked from the back. Like, if there's any big names, if there's a legacy car, if they're first off, right? If there's any Hendrick guys at the backfield, if there's any Joe Gibbs guys, any 2311 cars, like, don't play it, right? Obviously, like that's what I would absolutely. That's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm just not going to play those guys. But even if you don't want to like lean fully into, the Austin Hill, the Joey Gaze and stuff, you primarily want to play a lot of the front row guys, the what is it called? Spire cars and stuff, legacy and stuff. Like, I just don't see a reason to play any good drivers in the back of the field in this race, with how small this field is, with how volatile this race is going to be. I mean, you have 3 open positions in the playoffs right now for points. Everybody who's good at plate races are locked out of the playoff grid right now. You look at Keselowski, you look at Buescher, you look at Preece. I'm not saying they're like, Preece is already in; he's fighting for a spot in with Buescher and stuff. But those guys have to be very aggressive in this race to make up for, somebody winning or whatever, right? And so there should be a pretty intense, dire need to be up front in this race, right? And with how thin Daytona is, and yet again, if I'm just, maybe this isn't helpful for people or whatever, I've been here for 20 minutes. I'm just kind of getting my thoughts out, so I'm not going to be live. I think you can I just think there's a real chance for just a lot of chaos in this race, right? You're going to have guys racing for stage points. They need the points. You're going to have guys racing to obviously win the race. You're going to have literally the entire back of the field who isn't locked in racing, on top of on top of the Ford Brigade being up front and stuff, when we look at crashes and stuff, specifically at places like Daytona, the block is usually from the lead car in whatever lane happens to be, whether they're 2, 1, 3 wide, whatever, right? That car goes down and blocks the minimum of a lane. You typically have that crash happen with the third, fourth, or fifth car in that specific line. They either move up the track or, wreck more people and stuff. So the leaders are, unless they're just flat out terminate, if they put a bad block, the leader's never taken out in the crash. But it's everybody from fourth to like eighth that are going to be caught up in the start of it. And then anybody in the, 9th to 18th, 20th range at like a direct danger zone. That, yet again, that's why, Cody Ware racing so aggressively isn't, I don't like that, right? What's going on, Pope? Yeah, like Riley Herbst wouldn't be included in the 2311 chat. And yet again, like, I mean, I'm going to have my projections up. I'm going to try and go live. I just really don't think I'm going to be able to. But if you sort my projections and stuff, because I'm going to project, like Joey Gase score like, 12 points, right? And I'm going to have Larson probably for like 48, just by like, you have to project them based on where they should finish and stuff. And people might argue, Larson wrecks out a lot, but like, Keselowski and all the Hendrick guys should project for top 10 finishes and so on and so forth and stuff. And so if you sort from the, highest projected stuff down, I'll probably just upload the actual finishing positions that I have projected for up in the Discord and stuff. But you can just sort them by highest projected to the lowest, and it should give you a pretty decent idea of what my running position should be. And I would probably have Riley Herbst in the back of the field, right? And same thing, Phil. Like this is my favorite weekend, specifically these two races. And we haven't even talked about the Xfinity Series race and stuff. I don't think I really need to, but we can if you guys want. Only because what is it? There's nobody who's good in the Xfinity Series, right? Obviously, Austin Hill, Jesse Love. But the rest of the field is literally a bunch of kids, right? They've been wrecking stuff at a huge factor. SaberSim does, but yet again, SaberSim plays it like Atlanta, right? Which Atlanta is, you play the good guys in the back of the field, because obviously, like, duh, right? Like, you're going to play the good guys in the back of the field. But I mean, I showed the lines that I played at Talladega earlier this year, and all my other, like, I have that playlist on my own channel, Brandon Cruz DFS and stuff, and it's walking you through pretty much all of my takedowns or bigger wins at the plate races and stuff. And I just don't play the good guys. Like, I don't play the chalk. Hey, BVP. I know you haven't been in the chat in a while. I did see that you won. Was it the Indy GPP or the weekend before? I did give you a shout out, or at least congratulate you on here. So congratulations on that. But yeah, I'm also concerned that Xfinity is going to be 10K to first this week and not 20. So that's going to be unfortunate. Anyway, going back to you, Pope. I don't know. I've never used SaberSim for plate races, specifically, just because I always have unique lineups, right? Like, especially in a weekend like this, where I'm going to do at least 20 lineups for every race and probably at least 750 on each slate. I'd never run the duplications, and I don't know if SaberSim's going to do that. And so, yet again, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do my normal 20 and stuff, and I think I'm going to make an additional 30 or something, throw it in the 5, and see what SaberSim gives me. For that one. Yeah, I'm not entirely. I mean, I'm going to test SaberSim out, because I know in the past with where their stuff was. It wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about this weekend literally for years. Also, I mean, plate racing specifically, people want to keep finding strategies or not variances but advantages in DFS, and it's the plate race, especially with how well optimizers are doing. Because I mean, they're dominating every sport, and how dependent people are on those tools. Like this week is so easy to get unique lineups on. How not to be so duplicated. Literally just don't play the chalk or like be underweight. Like for example, if you have, and yet again, I've talked about this in videos, but say you have the back of the field, right? Then let's just talk about the last 10 positions of the starting grid, right? You typically have, unless things go insanely wild, just figure it out. Unless people just don't qualify or whatever, you typically don't normally have huge chalk if everything works the way it is. Now, in some weeks we have, a Hamlin starting the back of the field, an Elliott back there or whatever. If we do, you're going to see, their ownership be anywhere from like 50 to 52% ownership. Okay, because yet again, if we back it up and you look at a plate race, you look at people who get involved in crashes, whether it's crashes, wrecks, anything. If you have any scratch on your car, if you consider that as damage or wrecks and stuff, 80% of the field gets damage involved in a crash in this race. Now, whether they're out or not, that's whatever's up to the racing gods. But if everybody has an 80% chance of being involved in a crash, and if you've been here a while, it is not a Virginia. Okay, well, I'll answer this in a second. If you have, I used to say 60, 65, 70%. I mean, I'm on like 80% of the field having a chance to be involved in a crash. Okay. If every driver has an 80% chance of being in a crash, you don't want an ownership near that at all, right? If somebody has an 80, if Denny Hamlin, which he's DNF and starting the back of the field, if Denny Hamlin and Justin Haley have an equal chance to be involved in a crash today, but Hamlin is at 45% and Haley's at 33, and obviously these you'd want them to be lower, right? I'm just giving an example. You would take Justin Haley every time at a much lower discount for the exact same amount of or chances of crashing and stuff, right? And so, Pope, for me, typically I'm 65, 60, 55% on people like, BJ McLeod, Anthony Alfredo, Cody Ware. Yet again, with how Cody Ware has been racing, that's why specifically I opened up talking about him, because I think that's to be concerned about. And then everybody else, if you're a big name team, I typically don't play you. I only have you like 15% of the time. But everybody else, like a Todd Gilliland, a Justin Haley, a Zane Smith, those are people who are normally like 17 to 24% owned, and then I'll have them like 45, 50, right? That's typically that's just all I do. And I typically don't worry about duplication at that point at all. What else? It's not going to, oh yeah, like that, like you ideally you don't have a cent to your name until 10 to go, unless the field wrecks early, right? Or, if your idiots wreck on, like, if you, specifically in like Xfinity, if you play the guys in the back of the field and they wreck early, then you're like just kind of fucking screwed, which has happened before. Yeah. Do I need a forced salary cap? No, I would not. But typically, like, my salaries for these races, I mean, I'll leave anywhere from like 200 on the table to like 8,000, right? That's just how I build. Pope, if you go, and I can link it to you, because I know I believe you're in the Discord. I can give you that playlist that I have, where I talk about all this stuff in more detail with like data and everything to support it and stuff. Anyway, hockey. So, I mean, I don't really talk about my personal life a lot, and certainly like my partner and everything. But like their family is like ridiculously loaded, right? I won't say what they do because you can very easily find out who they are in the Houston area. Um, but um, anyway, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, like great taste, great expensive taste and everything, wine, everything, right? And dude, I'm like, what's his name, Nick the Smoker, right? Capri Magentas 120. I mean, I just get these for free just because she has them. These are like 20 a pack. I think a carton's like 240 or something. And I don't smoke much at all, really. It's like, a once a month thing. I'm just out here in the morning. I figured I'd do it. Anyway, but very good, very very good tobacco. Great. I wish she didn't do the slims because she's a woman and she wants the thin uh, cigarettes and stuff. But like super super great smoke for those looking for stuff. And so if you can find the CARPRI, like the regular size and stuff, you're perfectly good. I just smoke these because I get them for free, right? Um, Play stack from the back where I made mistakes last year is playing the good drivers who were in the back as well, and they're all like, and sometimes they're gonna wreck. Usually, especially because this contest is so small. It's 14,000 people. Like, I just I'm just not gonna be playing the chalk this week at all. It's hard to not play the good drivers starting in the back, but I will like you just have to do that. My biggest paydays have been Cody Ware, BJ McLeod. It sucked. That's why I'm such a Rick Ware fan, because back when they had like 3 cars and stuff, I would just play a Rick Ware stack like the entire time. Like I would just play all the shitty guys and just pray for all the fast cars to wreck out like that. That's just what you do. I don't really have any other opinions on what is it? Yeah, I just don't really have any other opinions. Like I said, I just know I'm not going to be going live. I just like talking about Daytona and stuff. Hopefully they crash out. If they don't, I can't imagine. This summer Daytona race has been insane. These past few years. 2 Talladega races are getting more and more tame. 500s tame here and there, but like this race is almost always pretty insane. So yeah, I just stack from the back, guys. Anything after that, if you guys, I'll be here for a few more minutes. Sheets going to go live in 15, talking about the MLB slate. Him and Adam will be online or on the stream. Hour after that, Sheets will be talking about the Tour Championship, and then Sheets will be live later tonight. I believe it's 6 Eastern. I already set everything up. I'm just talking through what they'll be on. Let's actually let's talk about it really fast in case you haven't been here yet. And I'll check the chat after this in a second to see if you guys are saying anything. Yet again, this is an old link. You're not going to get to that one. You don't got to worry about that. But this is we can get the load. Yet again, I'm outside. I haven't really tested this. But my God, look at this thing, right? Like, look at this puppy here. This looks slick, amazing. We've been talking about it a while. Hey, there I am, right there with some of the plate racing takedowns and stuff. How beautiful does this website look? Oh my God! Like I've been waiting for this website to go live, or at least this version, for months. We were hoping, or at least I was hoping, that it'd be up by I was hoping it'd be out by mid-May or whatever. Happenstance just didn't allow that. But come on, that's the site looks amazing. All the projections are super. Yeah, I'm logged in. All the projections are are super, super easy to load. They load way faster. I mean, this site is so fast, unbelievably so. I mean, my God, look at this stuff here, man. See if I can find. See if I can get to my profile really fast here. Yeah, dude, I got my own. I took this headshot like like 2 years ago, right? But like, dude, what a great time! And literally, I mean, I've been doing DFS full time since before COVID. The plate races have literally let me start and enter that world. Um, God, I love this website so much, man. I love how it looks. Hopefully, you guys like it. If you guys have any questions or anything, do let us know. Let me see. I don't see any additional questions here. So I think I'm going to call it. Yeah, stack the back, play the bad guys, play, and also I will say this: if somebody like Larson starts in the back of the field, right? Larson has been pretty abysmal at the plate races. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head who have had like really bad recent finishes, because I never look at finishes, right? I just focus on where people are running in the races and stuff. When do we even qualify? I think we qualified both Friday. We had fucking, actually Bob hasn't even talked about it yet. He didn't even be up yet. I don't worry about it. I'm not going to worry about qualifying. You'll have my opinions in the Discord if anything happens or whatever. Yeah, just fade ownership. Play the bad plays. If you're looking at projections, play all the guys who project bad. Don't play anybody in the top 12. Let's see, there's that. So basically, it's going to come down to so yet again, Austin Hill in Xfinity. Now, yet again, I mean, he's won a lot at Atlanta, right? I fade him every time in Atlanta. He had a fuel pump issue or something in the spring at Talladega. But the thing with Austin Hill, because he projects so well, and most people run optimizers and stuff, he's going to project well, and a lot of things are going to throw him in lineups. If he starts in the top 10, he usually carries still 20% ownership up there, which you don't want to play anybody up in the top 12. I'm starting to sweat my ass off out here. It's like already like 85 degrees out here, like 10,000% humidity. If Austin Hill starts in the top 10 and carries 20% ownership, I mean, he's covering the rake, right? Like, and 20% of the lineups are dead. If he starts anywhere, which outside of like a mechanical failure, RCR should start up in the front with him or Jesse Love getting pole. If he starts anywhere other than that, his ownership is just going to increase. And yet again, once it eclipses 35, which he would eclipse 35 like anyway, that's basically builds that like you do not have to even worry about. Because if you don't have him, you're going to be by default different. If he's starting the back of the field, he's going to be a front runner, right? He's going to race to be, a running position inside top 8 all day. So if he gets involved in a crash, that takes out the huge percentage of the field. If he doesn't, there's a real chance that people who didn't hand build are going to start, having a lot of trains and stuff. If you did hand build with Austin Hill, you can still get pretty unique. But I would just rather jump the field and everything. If he starts in the back of the field, if he starts in the front, just don't play him and have him pay the rake and stuff. Let's see what else. Yeah, but Austin Hill should be pretty highly owned. Don't play him. I don't care where he starts. Like if he starts last, that's like the easiest fade for me ever. Because at that point, he would probably eclipse any ownership that makes any type of reasonable, number. So I would just not play him and just drastically get different. So if anything, we'd probably want ideally you'd probably want Austin Hill like start like 20th, right, to have a ton of ownership and just kill half the field and be different. Yet again, with how this field, well, Haley's going to be in the field as well, right? The reason I bring Haley up is Haley knows what he's doing. I think Haley's very much on par to Austin Hill, right? In terms of skill level, okay? And yet again, I have a video. It's like 2 to 3 years old at this point, but it's called what is it called? It's in the playlist. It's where I specifically just talk about how people race and stuff. Haley's going to be extremely smart, and he's probably going to come at like a third or at least half the ownership that Austin Hill is. If you want to play Austin Hill, just play Justin Haley. But anyway, with this, and I got to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. With how the Xfinity field is, all these kids out there, like they don't get to practice anymore. They just go out and qualify. They don't get to dick around with the cars and see how it feels in the draft. They just have Atlanta to deal with, and Atlanta's hard as hell anyway because you just spread out. You're not even plate racing and stuff. So a lot of these kids like don't know what they're doing. A lot of these people don't have the practice that they need to figure out what their car is going to do anymore. And so the Junior Motorsports guys, Junior has said on his podcast and stuff that he tells his drivers to just go out literally verbatim. He's told them go out there and race us like a bunch of go-karts. So like that's why you typically see all the Junior Motorsports guys get caught up in crashes because they're just given a green light to do whatever they need to do to try and win the race. So yeah, Austin Hill's great, right? Jesse Love knows what he's doing, but they're surrounded by morons. Okay, anybody who's in the top 10 is at a huge percent to be involved in a crash, and then you have the back of the field, the guys in the back that you're playing. They don't know how to slow down for a crash. They can't comprehend, imagining what can happen in front of them, right? Like, hey, they never think, what if the field crashes in turn one? I'm leaving the tri-oval. The field's in one. They just never think if they're going to crash, right? And so, you have a lot of guys ARCA break into crashes and stuff and be involved in crashes. Like the entire field is just a bunch of morons. So you just play the bad cars, you play, people who are starting the back of the field and just hope that they don't wreck into people. Yeah, I mean, I love this week, right? This is my favorite weekend of the year. So yeah, thank you for chilling with me this morning and letting me get my opinions out and everything. And past that, I'll try and go live. I'll try and go live, but I just don't think I'll be able to this weekend. So best of luck, guys. Stack the back, per usual. Yet again, hold on. BVP did answer. Yeah, it was Indy. Okay, yeah. Congratulations again, BVP. Those are super difficult contests to solo. So I think you soloed. You don't got to answer that. It doesn't matter. You still won. So congratulations on that. Outside of that, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.